Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode If You Could Hide to Cola podcast. My name's Daniel. This, my brother Clive.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Daniel, we're talking about Joseph today, Joseph of Egypt. And I don't think I've ever gone, I would say in the last 7 years, I don't think I've ever gone a whole month without listening to the Andrew Lloyd Webber's Joseph the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat soundtrack.
Oh, it is, yeah, it's really, really good. It still gets a lot of views on YouTube, and I don't know how to do link in bio or link in description, but if we can figure that out, if people haven't watched it, go find it. We can hopefully give a link. It's so awesome to watch. There isn't, I would say, I was going as far as saying there isn't a better Sunday watch than that entire thing.
I absolutely agree. And not only is it great and really interesting, it's fun for the whole family, but it's so in line with the Bible as well. So if you want to know the story, do yourself a favor and watch that because it's fantastic.
All right, Clive, we decided to forego the quote today. In Come Follow Me, if you have or have not been keeping up, essentially, last week's episode was Genesis 24 to 33. We did a part 1 and a part 2. Then the Come Follow Me curriculum skips 34, 35, and 36. This week is Genesis 37 to 41. So Clive's going to give a summary of those chapters that have been skipped.
Yeah, just so if you wanna keep up with your reading, obviously except Songs of Solomon, we'll keep up with as much reading as we can for this year. So I'll just quickly talk about it. So Dinah is, as we'd mentioned last week, the only daughter of Israel, Jacob. And so they're in the area. So Israel and Leah, they have a daughter, Dinah, and she wants to go find other girls like her, which is fair enough. She's got 12 brothers. So she goes out into the land, and there's this man named Shechem, obviously is the absolute correct way of saying it. He's the son of Hamor, the prince of the land. So he really likes Dinah and he likes the way she looks, but he takes her and the scriptures describe that he lays with her and he defiles her. So this is obviously something against her will, something she doesn't want to do. So after he did this, he went to his father and said, "Get me this damsel to wife." That's literally his words, "Get me this damsel to wife." So his father goes to Jacob and says, my son has your daughter and we want her to marry my son. And the brothers hear this and they're not happy with the situation at all, as you would be with any protective brother. And I'm just going to really quickly read some of the scriptures here. This is 34, 12 to 15, then 25 and 26. "I will give according as ye shall say unto me, but give me the damsel to wife." And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Haram his father deceitfully and said, "Because he has defiled Dinah their sister, they said unto him, We cannot do this thing to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. But in this we will consent unto you, if you will be as we, that every male of you be circumcised." So yeah, sure, go ahead, marry our sister, but first you and all the men in this land need to be circumcised. 25. "And it came to pass on the third day when they were sore," so when all the men in the place were sore, they circumcised themselves. Because, when you're children, these are all grown men. "Two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took each man his sword and came upon the city boldly and slew all the males. And they slew Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went out." So they slaughtered everyone in the land because of what they did to their sister. They took all the women and took all the children and took all the wealth of that place. And because of this, obviously, Jacob is hated by many of the people around. They're in Canaan, remember? So the Lord then tells them, well, get out of Canaan, go to Bethel. And, Jacob says to his sons, if you're going to come, but leave he calls them their gods, but he means their jewelry and everything that's stolen, so their wealth. The other thing to note is Joseph is loved by his father, and he is given the birthright. Now, the birthright should go to Reuben, Jacob's son, but this is another part that we missed. Reuben loses his birthright because he sleeps with Bilhah, which, as we talked about last week, that is Dan and Naphtali's mum. So the Ethiopian Bible actually, so the Apocrypha actually says that he sneaks in at night and she doesn't know that it's him. But he falls in love with her and wants to be with her. And she's like, no, that's terrible. I don't want to do that. And Jacob curses him and says, well, you don't get your birthright now. This is a terrible thing you've done. So that's now where we're at. So some of the brothers are good. Some of the brothers are bad. Well, most of the brothers are bad, to be honest with you. But some of them have done some horrible things in the Lord's eyes. And that's where we pick up from Joseph here.
Okay, well, let's get straight into it then, Clive. We really just get straight into the story of Joseph that we all know so much. Um, and then perhaps we can talk a little bit about the coat. So if we look at the footnote, we see this in verse 3, C. The Septuagint word indicates many colors, but the Hebrew term may indicate simply a long coat with sleeves. But either way, this coat is, we know that Israel, Jacob, who is called Israel, his favorite son is Joseph because of Rachel, who is the mother. And as we learned in last week's Come Follow Me, that Jacob or Israel had to work very hard to eventually get the son that he wanted so badly. And so he boldly talks about the hard work. He boldly shows the hard work he put in to get to Joseph. And I think he always has this affinity with Joseph. So to understand why he has a favorite, you really have to understand in detail the 7 + 7 years that he went through when he was living at Laban's house.
Yeah, and I think Joseph's birthright, because it went away from Reuben, Jacob's sort of idea is, well, Rachel's the lady that I wanted to marry. So my first child really from Rachel is Joseph. He's my favorite, like you said, but he's really the one that should have the birthright now that Reuben's lost it. And Joseph, he is a righteous man and he does have these dreams. The coat of many colors, what do you think? So obviously, as I said, that Andrew Lloyd Webber says that it's a coat of many colors.
Yeah.
And he names all these different colors. What you've read there, obviously there's some difference. What are you thinking it's more?
Well, if I think practically, this is a very, very long time ago, and yes, they had money. You know, we learned that in the end, when Jacob or Israel leaves Laban's house, Laban has to pay him, so he ends up with huge amounts of flocks, and he ends up being quite a wealthy man. So could he have made a really nice coat? Yes. But could he have dyed it and put these lines in it? Probably not. So I would say that the coat was probably made of more of an exotic fur, and it may have just been more comfortable than all the other clothes. I'm imagining the clothes that everyone else has worn is furs that they've really didn't get to pick what size they wear. You know, they're not going to a shop and choosing, oh, I'm an extra large or I'm an extra small. They go and we've killed that animal and we're going to wear it. Where this is something that was more handmade for him as a representation of his father's love for him, and not just specifically for him, but for his mother.
Josephus doesn't actually mention colors at all. He mentions that it's a coat that's been given. There is what do you call them? Mormon myths, I suppose. Mormon myths that people say that this is the garment that's been passed down, but there's really no evidence to say that. No doctrine that I've found that calls it the coat of many symbols. But you know, it is obviously something that Jacob wants his son to have, which causes absolute jealousy with the rest of his sons. Joseph does having these dreams, these really interesting dreams, and he explains the dreams to his brothers, and his brothers aren't happy. And I'll just read, starting off in verse 7, one of his dreams. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf. So basically, they bowed down. And the brothers obviously weren't happy with this. Like, well, why would we bow down to your? That doesn't make any sense. And Joseph doesn't stop there. Obviously, he's not making friends. He has another dream as well. And in this one, he says in verse 10, in verse 9, he dreamed yet another dream and told it to his brethren and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more. and behold, the sun and moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? So it's one thing to say that my brothers will bow down to me, but to say that my father and mother as well will bow down to me, I think that's where Jacob sort of stood back and went, well, hold on. Do you really think that this is to me as well, that I would bow down to you? So Joseph has those dreams, and then obviously his brothers aren't too happy with him. And his brothers go out one day to the field, or at least they go out, and Joseph has to catch up later because he's got other things he's got to do, which I suppose isn't really important to the story. But Joseph catches up.
Clive, I think that part of the story is just indicating that they're a significant they're really, really far away and they're on a trade route. They're not back in where anywhere near that Jacob is. They're a considerable distance away. The apocryphal book, the book of Jasher, the brothers, when they meet the traders, that when they meet the people they're going to sell Joseph to, they say, "Oh, we're the family of Jacob. You know, we're almighty and we're well known. We're rich. We're famous in the area. You know, you need to kind of sort us out." So I'm imagining the whole idea is they're away. They're in a trade route, specifically a long way away from where Jacob could have been alerted to this issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously they wanted to kill Joseph, and that was the idea. Our brother said this, let's kill him. But Reuben, the oldest, he actually comes forth and says in 22, Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him in this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands to deliver him to his father again. So Reuben's gone, well, let's not kill him. Obviously, he's still our brother. Let's throw him in this pit. But secretly, Reuben's idea was to go back when his brothers aren't there, help Joseph out of the pit and take him back to his father. And maybe Reuben's thinking, and that'll be done with it. Everyone's got it out of their system. But it's interesting, isn't it? Like when you look at the story, you think, well, everyone's so wicked and everyone just wants to get rid of Joseph. But Reuben, really, the oldest brother, he's really looking out for his younger brother.
Well, it's Judah who says he has this idea. Well, it profit of he says in verse 26, what good is it if he's dead? We could actually sell him. It says, and Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother, our flesh, and his brethren were content. So Judah has this idea, we should sell him, not kill him. Maybe Judah has some guilt, I'm not sure. There is something deep inside Judah, because of course later on we learn that he would give his life for Benjamin, as the story goes full circle. So we then conveniently, when this conversation is happening, if you imagine that Joseph has been thrown into a pit, and what does a pit mean? It's essentially a well. It's a place that has been dug out, and it is a place where there's water, and camels who are carrying the people will stop there to drink. So in 28, it says, they passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit. So if you're imagining with me this story, Joseph is thrown into a pit. He's been beaten by his brothers. I'm sure they didn't just trick him to falling in. They've been beaten by his brothers and he's been thrown into the pit. They see him, and then we get the story is skipped here, Clive, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. Now, I read this, and I'm like, there is more to this story. There has to be more to this story. The Ishmaelites, that the brothers, Judah and co, beat Joseph, throw him into a pit. Okay, why wouldn't he just get out of the pit then? And just run away? So the Ishmaelites are coming past. They take him out. And then the brothers go, okay, well, now you've got to pay him. You've got to pay for him. You've got to pay to us. So anyway, I go to the book of Jasher, and I must say that the book of Jasher is is almost think of it as like Jewish stories passed down from time to time. And eventually in the 15 or 1600s, these stories were written down. Not like the book of Genesis, where parts of it were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, although parts of what is written in Genesis is definitely recorded in the Apocrypha. So, Clive, I wanted to tell you this part of the story from the Apocrypha because it's really, really interesting. So I will just abridge it a little bit. But essentially, Joseph is beaten, and they confine him to a pit, and he's the passers by, the Midianites, they are passing by, and they hear someone crying, in the pit, and they go over to it, and it says, and as they passed, they were thirsty. They lifted up their eyes and saw the pit in which Joseph was confined, and they looked and beheld every species of bird was on him. So I'm imagining the brothers have beaten him to a point where he is weeping, he is very sad, he's defenseless, he's helpless. Birds are landing on him. The text says the voice of Joseph crying and weeping in the pit. And behold, they saw him, and he was youthful. He was handsome in appearance and well favored, the text tells us. And so they help him and they take him out. And they said, why do you do this to take us? So the brothers go over to these travelers, Clive, and they say, what are you doing? Why do you have our servant? Like, we left our servant in the pit. Why do you have our servant? And they say, well, what is he doing in the pit? He's really, really handsome. Are you sure he's your servant? Servants don't look this good. He shouldn't be treated like this. And so they say, now therefore we will not listen to your words, now attend to you, for we found the youth in the pit in the wilderness, and we took him. We will therefore go on. And so now what we see is as this story is told to us, these people, these traders, they say, well, we found Joseph, finders keepers, 9/10 of the law, he belongs to us. We're just taking him. And then this brouhaha breaks out. Simeon, the text tells us that Simeon goes over to them and he says, he's ours. We will fight you. We will level you. We will kill every single one of you. Give us back the servant. So I'm not sure if the text here is suggesting, Clive, that they were like, oh my goodness, we only kind of talked about selling him. We didn't really want to. Now he's going, we're screwed. These people, these Ishmaelites or these Midianites, I don't know exactly, Clive, because the text says that they're Midianites and Ishmaelites. I'm guessing that Midianites is because that's where they're from, but they're from the line of Ishmael.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. From the land of Ishmael, so they're Ishmaelites, but they're from the land of Midian, the Midianites.
So then Simeon, he basically says, give us back or we'll kill you. And they said, well, how about this then? It says, the Lord was pleased. So therefore sell him to us, they say, and we will give you all that you require for him. And the Lord was pleased to do this in order that the sons of Jacob should not slay their brother. And because by this stage, right, if they take Joseph back, of course, he's just going to tell his dad what happened. And the Midianites saw that Joseph was a handsome appearance and well favored. They desired him in their hearts and were urgent to purchase from him. So they end up buying him, which the text tells us. But then we get this really personal message that Joseph is just weeping. He's crying the whole time that he's been taken away. And they end up beating him because he's crying so much. The text tells us that he's so fatigued that he can't walk. They just beat him some more. And then the text tells us that on the way back, Joseph passes by his mother's grave. And he runs to the grave and he cries at the grave. And he says, mother, mother, who gave birth to me, awake and arise, see your son. He has been sold for a slave, no one to take pity on him. See your son, weep with me, he says. Awake from your sleep for me and direct your battles against my brothers. They sold me already twice for a slave and separated me from my father. There is no pity again. There is no one to pity me, he says. And then there's this story of where his mother talks to him and says, "Go with them. You are with the Lord. The Lord is here to protect you. You know, you can go." And Joseph continues to weep, and he's treated really, really poorly along this trip.
Yeah, that's I did find that very interesting. And don't forget as well, Joseph's 17 years old.
Right.
You know, all the stories we read, you know, they're all old men, but Joseph's 17. So, you know, it's tough times, definitely. Um, I'll read this part here. This is what happens next. So he's sold into Egypt. Reuben comes back to try and save Joseph. It says here, but Reuben, coming out at night to the pit, resolved to save Joseph without the privacy of his brothers. And when, upon calling his name, he made no answer, he was afraid that he had destroyed him, that they had destroyed him after he was gone, and of which he complained to his brothers. But when they told him what they had done, Reuben left off to his mourning. So this is in the book of Josephus, sorry, for those trying to follow along. So he came back, tried to save him, and this is where it sort of jumps in with the Bible, where it says in 37:29 and 30, and Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. And he returned to his brothers and said, the child is not, and I, whither shall I go? So obviously, you know, Reuben didn't like this idea at all. But the brothers already decided it, and they went from there. So
Yeah, Clive, that part, that last sentence, "Whither shall I go?" Reuben's like, "Yous have done something. Tell me, point me in a direction. I am going to go and find him. I'm not accepting what's gone on here. Tell me where he's gone. I will go." And that older, you know, he's the oldest of the siblings, and he's might feel guilty that he was the eldest and he left them. He left all the brothers to their devices. He's gone, "Yous are concocting the story. I don't think we should kill him. We should take him back to the father in the end. I'm getting out of here. I'm having nothing to do with this." Well, sorry, dude, but you're guilty by association. You can't just go, "All good, like whatever yous do, I'm out of here." Like, you have a role to play here.
it just sort of ends here where he's sold to Potiphar. And then the story picks up in chapter 39. And chapter 38 it's almost like a side story, just explaining Judah's line.
It all starts with Judah, um, and a lady called Tamar. I'm going to say Tamar. Or did you say something different?
No, I say Tamar. Yep.
So the things we have to think about here is Tamar, Judah, and a thing called the Levirate birthright custom. Think of it. So the Levirate custom, Tamar, and Judah. These are the three things that are most important in verse 38. So essentially, what happens is Judah took a wife for his firstborn, whose name was Tamar. Then we see that in verse 7, this is of 38, Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord slew him. Then the birthright is now passed on. Judah said unto Onan, "Go in unto thy brother's wife, marry her, and raise up a seed to thy brother." And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass that when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest he should give seed to his brother.
He's gone, well, my father's told me to lay with Tamar so that my brother's posterity can continue through her. But I'll lay with her, but I don't want the posterity because it won't be classed as my son. My father wanted classed as her son. And so, sure, I'll lay with her, but I'm not going to have children with her.
And so then in 10, this thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also. So now Judah has two sons, and they're both dead. And he has a third son. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, "Remain a widow at thy father's house till Shelah, my son, be grown." So Tamar, through the Levirate custom, there is allowed to be a 10-year gap for this for the daughter-in-law must continue to marry in the same family to continue the birthright. This is a custom and it must happen. So, and this is Judah's responsibility. This is an important point here. Judah's responsibility is to ensure that the line can continue. So he says, go to your dad's house You can wait there till my son is grown, then you will marry my son. And he says, then he also continued, for he said, lest peradventure he die also, as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. So we see there is a flip of the script here. Judah says, go to your dad's house. When my third son is old enough, you will marry him. Then, over the years, Judah actually says, okay, you're ready to marry him now, but actually you're not going to, because the other two died, and I'm not allowing you to marry the son that I have left. And so Judah doing this breaks the custom, the Levirate custom. He completely breaks it. And what does this mean for Tamar? Well, she is now destitute. She is out. She is used baggage, and the custom is broken. That is not allowed. You cannot break the custom. So in the process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. Judah was comforted, etc., etc. Okay, so Judah, essentially the story is painting that Judah is sad, Judah has needs, so on and so on. So what happens is Tamar is in need of completing the custom. She needs to complete the Levirate custom. And I must say that the story takes a lot of twists and turns, but actually she is in the right here. As far as the custom of the day goes, she is the one in the right. So what happens is she dresses herself up like a prostitute. She covers her face. She looks highly sexual. And Judah approaches her and says, hey, hey, I'm going to take your services. And he must pay her, which he pledges. And he said, I'll give thee a kid from the flock. And she said, wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? So he says, if I can render your services, I will give you a kid. So I'll give you a baby goat. The goat will be yours. We will sleep together. That is your payment. And she says, well, you've got to go get it. But while you go get it, you've got to give me something. And so she's very clever here. She says, you've got to give me something. And he said, what pledge shall I give thee? And she said, thy signet, thy bracelets, thy staff that is in thine hand. And he goes, no worries. Like he's so besmitten or besotten, whatever the word is, on taking her services that he goes, no dramas. Here's my bracelet. Here's my signet. Here's my staff. This is yours. Essentially, like when you go somewhere and they go, oh, if you need the keys, you've got to put your license in. You know, if you're going to take this, you got to put your I've got to hold something of yours. So I trust that you will return. So he does this. And essentially, then Tamar gets pregnant. And Judah then, again, he flips the script and he's so mad. He actually wants her to die because of this incident, because he comes back and he says, hey, where is she? He asked the men of the place, this in 21, where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? They said, there is no harlot in this place. And so Judah's like, well, I'm not dreaming. There definitely was one. I was just here. They said, no, there wasn't one. And so then it says in 24, and it came to pass about 3 months after that it was told, Judah saying, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law hath played the harlot, and also because she is with child by whoredom, Judah said, bring her forth and let her be burnt. Judah says, if she's done that, she can be burnt, because don't forget, Judah, in his mind, owes her his last son. That's what he must do to fill out the Levirate custom. So he says, well, bring her. She's done wrong. She's going to die. And he brings her. So she comes out and she goes, no, dude, you're the father of this kid. And here is the proof. Here's your staff. Here's your bracelet. Here's your signet. Here's all of the things that make you, you. And Judah acknowledged them and said, she hath been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelah my son, and he knew her again no more. So the Lord, so then what happens is she then has twins. her womb is blessed. If you think about the line of the females that the Lord has been watching that have been blessed, we have Rebecca, we have Rachel, and now we have Tamar. All these people, that these people's wombs have been blessed. Tamar ends up having twins, and there's a story that one puts his hand out and um, they put a scarlet thread around. There's another one. So there's Perez or Pharez and Zerah. These are the twins that are born directly as Judah's children to Tamar. Why is this an important story? Well, Tamar is blessed. She is the one that is following through the custom, and she is forcing the hand of Judah. As we see with Rachel, as we see with Rebecca, these people are often forcing the hand of their patriarchal mate to make sure that they are following the customs, they are following the Lord, they are following the gospel. It's these female characters in the background that are continuing to push how important it is to follow the customs. And so this is this story. Judah will go full circle. He will offer up his life for Benjamin in the end of the Joseph out of Egypt story. Um, but the detail in this story is far more than I can explain, and someone far more smarter than me will know even more detail in this text. But it is a really, really important story.
Okay, well, it's a great story, yeah, and it is just sort of randomly in there because now we get back to Joseph in Egypt. So Joseph's sold to Potiphar, and Joseph, I mean, it makes more sense now when I think about of what you said when he goes and cries at his mum's grave and his mum speak to him and said, "Go with them," because the Lord's going to bless him. He's only 17 years old. At any point, he could have gone, "It's not worth it." But obviously, he's had some kind of spiritual experience, and he becomes favorable to Potiphar. He doesn't just become this miserable child of, I hate being here, I don't want to be here. He tries his best to please his master. And it says in verse 4 of the 39, is what we're at now. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hand. Like Potiphar's a rich guy, like he owns a lot. He owns many things.
He's a millionaire that invested in pyramids and owns part of the Nile as per that play.
As per that play. If Andrew Lloyd Webber is absolutely correct, then yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Big investor in pyramids, big owner
Big,
of real estate on the Nile.
exactly. So Joseph becomes overseer of all of the property of all of his land, and basically whatever he's so trusted. Like if Joseph would say to Potiphar, "Hey, there's a new there's a new pyramid being built. I reckon we invest in that." I'd go, "Yeah, go for it."
Yeah,
Obviously
I'll do the math.
Yeah, but Joseph's completely blessed, and he trusted, so trusted. And now there's this famous story of Potiphar's wife that really likes Joseph, and she really tries to seduce him and go, "Well, you're so trusted, and I like the way you look, so you should come and lie with me."
Clive, that how the way you look is right through the writings of the Apocrypha. He is a handsome man, youthful, handsome. It comes up time and time and time and time again. Joseph was 18 years old at youth with beautiful eyes and of a handsome appearance. And like to him was not in the whole land of Egypt. He is the man. Like he is the hottest. He is the hottest property. The Henry Cavill. He is the just trying to think of who are the most handsome men that I keep hearing from my daughters and wife. Too many to mention.
The opposite of what we look like.
Too many to mention. No beards. That's the running theme is the people they think are handsome have no beards.
Right. How times have changed.
But yeah, very, very handsome. And so, of course, he sees the wife of Potiphar, who in the Apocrypha, in the book of Jasher, is named Zalika, finds favor in him.
So in the scriptures, it's very brief, as the Bible is. We've found that Joseph leaves immediately, but actually Josephus gives this massive dialogue that Joseph gives to her, explaining that the importance of the fact that they shouldn't lie together, she's a married woman and he is but a lad. And he says here, he told her that in the company of her husband she might find great boldness for good conscience, both before God and before men. Nay, that she would act better like his mistress and make use of her authority over him better than she would um, persistent in her chastity. So he's like, your husband, obviously, he's the one you should be with. You're better off, keeping the way you are. Anyway, so this is the part where he leaves. He says, but as soon as Joseph had got away from her anger, leaving also his garment with her. So Joseph now leaves. And it does say in here that a piece of his garment was left. For he left that to her and leapt out of the chamber. She was greatly afraid lest he should discover her lewdness to her husband, and greatly troubled at the affront that he was offered her. So she resolved to be beforehand with him and to accuse Joseph falsely to Potiphar, and by that means to revenge herself on him for his pride and contempt of her. And she thought it was a wise thing in herself. So that's why she did it. She went and told Potiphar because, well, first of all, she's afraid that Joseph's going to go out first and tell her, which she's like, well, I've got to be the first one. Potiphar, trust me, I'm his wife. I'm his wife. Um, so she goes out but also she's embarrassed, she's ashamed, and she just wants this revenge now on Joseph. And because of this thing, Joseph ends up being in prison for 13 years. Now, Potiphar, it does say in here in the Apocrypha, and don't think it says it much in here in the Bible, but Potiphar was really up and down about it, like really not sure if this was a circumstance. But he said, I have to listen to my wife. She's my wife and she's the one with me. If she is saying this, I must follow through.
The story, just speaking of that, Clive, this story is actually in the Quran. And in the Quran, before we're skipping ahead, but just in the context, I'm skipping ahead slightly, but in the context of what you just said, in the Quran, it says before Joseph was let out of jail, the Potiphar brings up the wife and says, tell me actually what went on here. And then ends up then forgiving Joseph and bringing him back. So even the whole time, he's in jail for like 12 years or something. What do you say, 12 or 13 years?
13 years, yep.
He's in jail for that long. And even when he brings him out, these texts suggest that Potiphar was still not sure, even at the very end.
Josephus says that for a good portion of while he was in prison, he was bound. He says he was bound for a time until the guards saw the dignity of his countenance. So who knows how long he was bound for. But Cleon Skousen, in the first 3,000 years, he talks about the prison, how there was two levels to it. There was the upper level where the guards would be watching over, and the lower level they would call the dungeon. And it was just the absolute pits. And that's where the unholy would go.
And we specifically learned, Clive, that the prison was for the betrayers of the king, of Pharaoh.
Exactly.
These aren't just people who are a peasant robbing from a peasant. These are people who were once entrusted, given the keys to the kingdom, and then went against the Pharaoh. And so therefore only the worst prisons were right for them because they were so trusted at one point.
Joseph's in there for a while, and obviously terrible times, and there is other writings that speak of the misery of the prison, but I'll just go back to the Bible itself, the King James Version. In 21 to 23, it says, but the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. The keeper of the prison looked not at anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. So the God is given, just like Potiphar, given everything to Joseph. Joseph was so kind and a wonderful person, and obviously someone who had the Spirit, that the gods went, this guy's completely trustworthy. Let's give everything to him, and he can be sort of like
he can make our jobs easy.
The pod boss, almost, That's prison lingo for anyone
Oh, was that
Sure,
from
yes.
your time in correctional facilities?
It's so the Podboss basically rules, and that's what Joseph was. He was given everything. So it even says there that the keepers didn't even bother looking. If Joseph decided something, then they trusted that what he decided was on key with what they would do. So Joseph, they would trust him not to, I don't know, not let anyone out, not let fights happen. It was just another thing that Joseph was so blessed and such a wonderful person that he didn't go, I'm miserable and I'm in prison. This is the end of me. He's gone, if I'm here, I'm going to make this worth my time. And I'm not going to just be sit here and be miserable. And he was there for 11 years before the story of the butler and the baker comes in. So there's a long stretch of time that we don't really have much information, but we just know that he was in the prison for a long period of time.
Okay, Clive. Well, let's just stop it there. Let's come back for a part two. We'll kick off part two basically from chapter 40. So we'll come back for part two. Let's do chapter 40, chapter 41. This is the stories of the butler and the baker. Then we see Joseph's freedom, and again going into Egypt and learning of the spoiler alert, teaching the Pharaoh Potiphar his dreams as well. So let's come back for that. Thanks for tuning into another episode. If you could hide to Collar podcast, catch us on Facebook and Instagram, catch us on YouTube, subscribe to us there, and we will see you. We will see you again for part two of chapter 40, chapter 41 of Genesis.